Around the Cabin is recorded before a live internet audience. Be part of the show. Post comments and questions to the host and other viewers. Go to aroundthecabin.com/campfire.
Bunch of redneck Robin Hoods. Bunch of redneck Robin Hoods. Hey, we're living good. Back in the woods.
Yes, we're still talking about the content and the items of my survival kit, my main survival kit, and we discussed several aspects in the past shows. But tonight we're going to talk about the water aspect. Let's put it this way: everybody knows how important water is. You got to keep yourself hydrated. Regardless of the area where you are. I mean, even in cold places, everybody knows you've got to keep yourself hydrated, and it's even more obvious when you are in a rainforest, in a tropical forest, where everything is so hot and humid and wet, and you dehydrate really fast there. If you're not acclimatized, you say acclimatized? Is that how you say that? If you're not used to the weather, you're gonna have trouble. And you have to, to make sure you have the right means to treat the water you find. If you do find water, it's not really difficult to find water in the rainforest. Even though you might not have like rivers or any lakes or any other like water that you can clearly see around you, you can always, try the water vines, and there are several types and species of water vines which have water, potable water. So, of course, they will change and vary depending on the area where you are. But there are certain tricks, certain aspects and things you can look for which will help you determine whether that species of water vine you got in front of you is suitable for human consumption. As for tonight, I have a few interesting videos here. I don't really have many videos in English talking about water purification, treatment, or whatever, but Mac does, so I stole a few videos from his channel, and I didn't talk with him about it. I hope he won't mind. Anyway, he knows where I live. If you want to come here, Mac, I'm ready for you, man. So if you want to play, if you can please, Rich, play the first video where he's actually showing the
where he builds his filter?
Yeah, the filter. This is the one the indoor video that he shot. He's actually explaining the filter system that he uses, the one that he made, that he created, and he uses. And I have seen Mac using that system most times we're out there in the bush. Every time he wants to filter his water before he treats it with chlorine, he actually uses that filter. And I think it's an interesting, aspect, and this interesting device for people to see and learn how to make. And then we will show another video where he's actually using one of these chemical Well, he will actually explain what it is, but it actually lowers down the heavy particles of the water, and that helps you treat that water and use that water. And then to finish that, we have a video which I'm actually showing some water vines and some other, you know, let's say bushcraft techniques to get your water if you need to. So if you can play the videos, Rich, I would thank you.
Sure thing. I'll mute myself. You mute yourself. And our buddy Max BH in the room said this is Giuliano unbearded.
Oh yeah, man. That's right. Did you guys recognize me?
There you go. All right, I'll play the video.
One of the pieces of kit that can be quite expensive if you go out and buy them is a water filter. I decided to make my own filter principally because I always treat my water chemically, either with iodine or chlorine, but oftentimes the water sources that you're using are kind of suspect, and they can look quite chewable. So what I like to do is get all the junk out of there before I treat my water chemically. The filter that is my own design here, it does not treat water 100%. It gets the junk out of it so you can treat it chemically, which makes your water better tasting and a little more appealing. This filter is designed to remove things from the water, but it doesn't remove everything. So when you use this filter, you have to use some kind of chemical means or boiling afterwards. This is just a way of cleaning up water so it'll be more effective to treat it chemically. The filter itself is very simple. It's just made out of PVC. This is 20 millimeter PVC pipe, which I've got two sections, an upper section and a lower section, and then the little end here is a nozzle with a little piece of rubber on there to help the water get into the canteen better. I've been using this system in Brazil for about 8 years now, and I have never had a waterborne illness when using this filter with the chemical means. The pieces of the filter are quite simple. There's two sections of 20 millimeter PVC which have been sanded so they fit in the pipe joint, so you can take it apart and put it together, but it has to fit snugly so that it doesn't fall apart in the bush. The upper section of the PVC just has a small wad of synthetic fiber that was bought in a pet store. This is not cotton, it's synthetic. Cotton doesn't work very well, but that's the pre-filter. As the water comes in the filter, it first passes through the little wad of fiber. That removes all the leaf debris and large organisms, whatever, can't get through that filter. The bottom section is filled with charcoal pellets, activated charcoal pellets, which I also bought in a pet store. This is used normally for repacking aquarium filters. Between the carbon and the fiber is a small plastic disc I've created to fit inside the tube, which keeps the charcoal in place, and that just fits inside the pipe joint. There's a little ring which keeps the two pipes evenly spaced in there, and the top section will trap that piece of plastic in there. The pipe reducer on the end channels the water down through the small section of inner tube rubber, so it falls into the canteen nice and easy. It fits in the top of the canteen. So there you have it. Very simple, fast flow filter. Basically how I use this in the bush is I'll set it up on top of the canteen, and then I'll use my canteen cup to fill raw water from whatever source, stream or pond or lake or whatever, through the top. The water passes through the top of the filter. Usually what happens is it'll fill up and then slowly drain down through the carbon down below, but it'll fill up this tube, and as it drains down, I just keep adding more. The water first passes through the wad of fiber, synthetic fiber, and that drains out all the suspended particles, large things that you wouldn't want to drink or have in your canteen. It then passes through the screen, which is trapped in the middle, and then that pre-filtered water then travels down, drains down through the carbon pellets, and that'll trap all kinds of suspended particles or microorganisms and all sorts of things, which then passes down through the reducer, which the water then is channeled down through the little nozzle, which is made out of rubber on the bottom, and the water comes out very clear on the other end of it, much better tasting and much more effective to treat it chemically after that with either iodine tablets, iodine drops, or chlorine tablets or drops. So Like I said, I've used this filter now for 8 years in Brazil. I've never had a problem with it. I've made other versions of it which are much larger, which I use when I take groups out in the bush. We usually have 1 or 2 of these, the large ones, set up at the camp. They have a much wider mouth, and they're much faster for treating larger quantities of water. But there's really no need to go out and buy a expensive filter. I do have an Explorer, a pure Explorer, which I paid $150 for. I use it very rarely because it's very large. You do get very high quality water out of such filters. But I found if I'm going to treat chemically anyway, it's a much lighter system to use, and this takes up very little room in my pack. And it cost about $3 to make, which, because I'm excessively cheap, I like very much. So if you want to make one of these, there's nothing patentable here. It's just basically a fish filter in a tube. Thanks for watching.
Alright, let's go back up in the room here live. And I want to, let's see here. Okay, you got nothing else to say. I'm sorry, you got that comment here late. I just got from Giuliano. He wants to go to the next video, so let me switch over to that again.
Okay, this water, I have absolutely no intention of drinking this water. We are going to treat it back in camp with flocculating chlorine tablets and just see what they can do. The idea of a flocculating tablet is it clears out all the suspended particles and garbage in the water and treats it with chlorine, and all the particles should sink to the bottom. This is the Rio das Velhas, which is not a safe source of drinking water. Even treating it with flocculating tablets, I have no desire to drink this water because about a few miles upstream it runs through a town and collects all kinds of garbage. So this water probably won't be safe anyway to drink. I just want to see how much it clears it out. As I already said, there's a few miles up there's a town, Itabirito, and this river has all kinds of industrial pollution in it, has all kinds of garbage floating in it. And I'm not too proud to slum it out here in the bush. We found this gigantic truck inner tube, and I'm going to slice off a huge piece of it. That right there is creating a vulcanized fire starter. I'm going to grab a bunch of this and bring it back to our camp and just leave it there. This is an awesome find. It's like slicing a big salami. It's an inner tube filled with sand. Just going to slice this up and take it home. We're going to treat this river water with Chlorfloc, which is a flocculating chlorine tablet. It adds chlorine to kill the biological organisms in the water, but it also has an agent in here which flocculates the water or brings all the suspended particles down to the bottom. The directions on the tablets are add 1 tablet to 1 liter of water, shake for 1 minute, wait for 7 to 10 minutes, pour through clean cloth to remove dirt. And we're going to add 1 tablet to this is 1 liter of river water, and then we're going to do the instructions, and then we'll get back to you later to see what they actually did. After shaking for 1 minute, we have on the left a bottle of clear water, and then on the bottle on the right is the 1 liter of river water. And now we have to wait 7 to 10 minutes and see what happens. I don't know if you can actually see it on the video, but there are white flakes now floating down through the water and collecting at the bottom. So another 5 minutes or so and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, the idea, it's been 15 minutes now since the chlorine tablets that were added to the water. And you can see, go ahead and shoot over here. You can see that all kinds of white particles are drifting down and falling to the bottom. And supposedly at this point you're supposed to run it through a piece of clean cloth. I'm going to use the top section of my Field Expedient filter here. This is just synthetic fiber from a fish filter, and I'm going to use, just to give you an idea of the clarity of the water, these are one of the breast milk bags. They say right on there, my mommy's milk. I'm going to filter one of these full of water through here, and we'll see how clear this stuff actually gets. Remember, this is river water from the Rio das Velhas. Ooh, strong smell of chlorine there. Now let's see how clear our water gets. There you have our sample, and that to me turned out very clear, considering what was considering the raw material we were working with, water directly out of the Rio das Velhas, a very polluted river. Like I said, this stuff has dissolved industrial pollutants in it. I'm not too crazy about drinking this water and giving you a taste test, but holding that up next to clear spring water, I'd say they do a great job of removing all the particles and garbage in the water. I have no problem using these tablets with water which is collected from like a stagnant pond or a biologically safe source, as long as it's sterilized, and they do a wonderful job of really cleaning it up. The water has a very, very strong chlorine smell. You can see the end product looks a lot like water, and it smells like a public pool, but it's clear, it's clean, it's sterilized. If it wasn't for the dissolved industrial pollutants in this water, I'd have no problem drinking this.
Okay. First question they want to know is, when do you think Mac will be back on live with us on here?
Well, I've been trying to get a hold of him, but I don't know. He seems to be pretty busy there.
I know he's got a lot going on, so yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. So this is actually one way I figured out to bring him to the show, by actually bringing him through his videos, the English videos that he has shot, and hopefully we're gonna have him back to the show soon, because he has had a lot of great experiences here, and he can contribute a lot to bring his foreigner vision, views and understanding of the biomes we got here and all that he's done here so far.
All right, so now let's get down to this real quick. Got a couple of questions. One, I got a private message here. Breast milk bag. Yes, a breast milk bag is a wonderful emergency water carrier or water bag, because it is very heavy duty plastic bag. It is also usually clear that you can see stuff through, and it works better than a condom, and it fits in almost the same room. Breast milk bag is a really good bag. Now remember, another comment I got was, can you drink with this filter that Mac had made? He said at the beginning this was to filter out heavy particulates. It was not to take out all the Goridia and all the cryptosporidium and Gerardia and everything else in there. This is a heavy sedative filter. It is a filter to get the heavy junk out, and then you would either boil or treat the water after the filter. But you have to understand, where he was gathering the water from had a whole lot of sediment in it. And that was what the idea of the filter was. That's the idea of the second video, where he's using the chemicals to make those heavy sediments fall to the bottom, so it's easier to get the clean water off the top. Think of trying to separate oil and water. Basically, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to separate the junk from the water. And
that's right.
It's not a put it in and drink out of it. No, it's not. That's not what it's built for. Question for you from Vinny.
Go on.
Vinny wants to know, is there a specific plant that you usually collect water from, Giuliano?
We have several types of plants that will provide water that will provide us with water. One of the most traditional ones, and this is one of the one you're going to see on the video, is the water vines, right? Now there are several types of water vines in South America, not only in Brazil. For example, I know for sure that in my area here in central Brazil, we have at least 3 types we can drink from, and there are some variations which are not poisonous or toxic, but they have a bitter taste. And there are some which you can't drink from definitely, either because they are like poisonous or because they have like they'll get you high. They'll get you like a psychedelic trip or something. And they are actually used by some cults and sects here in Brazil to make this beverage, which they drink in their cult to have this collective whatever they have, experience. But anyway, so you must know what vines you're going to go for. Although there are a few tests you can make to try to determine whether you can drink from that vine or not. But not only vines. For example, in the Caatinga biome, which is a desert in the northeast of Brazil, we will be discussing more about the Caatinga in the coming shows. But in the Caatinga Desert, they have some types of cactuses which store water and actually supply people with water. The problem is some of those species are endangered of extinction. So it's not something that you can go like, oh, I think they call it coroa de frade here, which is like a priest's crown, like a rough translation of it. Anyway, this is not a kind of plant you can go and cut and try to drink out of it unless you really have to, because you don't really have a whole lot of those cactus left. They are endangered. So I mean, there are some other places where you can try to collect water, like these types of bromelias. I don't know what you call those in English, but they have these large trees that point upwards, and they tend to form and create these gaps, these pockets where the rainwater is stored, and you can actually get some water. But again, you will have to filter that water, because those places, those pockets, let's say, of water will be, packed and littered with bugs, plant debris, things that were brought in by
everything you're going to want to drink is going to try. Where you want to drink, everything else wants to drink. So all the bugs,
exactly.
all the birds, all the other things.
Exactly.
And now something else that I want you guys to remember. Just because there's water on a leaf doesn't mean you can drink it, because that leaf may be poisonous to you, okay? It may be a plant that has had a chance to exchange fluid back and forth with that water, and can, like he said, give you the psychedelic problems, can give you other worse problems, can have stomach aches or other things. So you're going to need to know the plants where you're going to gather that water, or even the stones or the moss or whatever else is around there. You need to study these things. Just because you see in the videos where the guy chops a vine and drinks the water, as Giuliano just said, and it is here in the United States too. Mac has done videos where he's cutting vines where he can get water and he cannot get the water because of the different types of plants, the different types of vines. You need to know these different things before you just go out there and start trying it. So.
Yeah, that's right. Besides that, we have a few other problems here. Some of those plants which will store water will also be used by some animals, like snakes, even spiders, as some type of shelter or as a water source. And before you go, you go drinking from any of those sources, you gotta make sure there are no other harmful animals there, like I've just mentioned, snakes or spiders, anything that can actually kill you or harm you if you get bitten. Because though, like you said, the plant will provide water for you, but for everything that needs water, all those animals are out there looking for water, and they will find it. And that's the reason why Mac came up with that filter, because that's a perfect idea for this type of situation when you have to, before you even treat that water chemically, because let me explain what happens here. Let's say you do have iodine or you do have those chlorine pills, which is what we mainly use down here in Brazil to chemically treat our water. And it is really effective against those microorganisms. But let me give you an example which will help you understand what I'm talking about. Remember Superman, the movie, the 1970s movie, I think it's Superman 2, when there are these three other guys from the same planet which have superpowers too, and Superman tricks them and into getting inside a chamber which supposedly would deprive him from his powers. But actually what that little chamber did is actually it protected Superman from the whatever powers were acting outside the chamber and depriving the other bad guys from their power. If you have seen the movie, you remember what I'm talking about here. And what happens when you treat the water chemically before you filter the water is pretty much what Superman did. You are actually allowing some microorganisms to be protected, to be safely stored inside those bigger particles. Let's say you have a tiny micro piece of wood inside the water, but it's big enough to actually store some microorganisms there, and those microorganisms won't be affected by the chemical that you have added to the water. Whereas if you filter the water, you will be depriving those microorganisms from those capsules, from those tiny little chambers where they can find shelter from the chemicals. So this is why Mac brilliantly came up with those filters, because you will remove all those bigger and more solid pieces of debris which will store those organisms. And then when you do treat your water chemically, you will make sure that the chemicals will act upon every freaking little tiny bug in your water and get rid of those things. And this is why you do have to combine those things. Now, if you cannot filter your water or either treat it chemically, the only, at least this is what I think, the only effective way to get rid of those bugs is by boiling the water. And
well, it doesn't get rid of it; it kills them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what I mean.
You still have dirty water. They just have dead water.
Yeah, but that's you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you're gonna kill the bad effects they would have upon your body. That's what I'm saying.
Now the one thing that I love what Mac was showing. Now that was a very well moving river. That river was moving pretty good. And you and I have both heard, and I'm sure everybody else in the room has all heard the wise tale. Well, if it's flowing over the rocks and flowing good, then it's clean enough to drink. And how many miles upstream was the village? A couple of miles?
Actually, well, you do have villages on both directions. The thing is, down river, it gets more polluted. I have drank from that river, but I did boil it. And I wouldn't risk drinking from it, even though I treated it chemically. It's just, you never know. This is not something I would,
And you guys couldn't see the village, right?
No, yeah, we couldn't.
But it's there, and you gotta think, you don't know there's a fisherman going to the bathroom up around the corner that you can't see, or an animal that's laying dead in that water. You've got to treat everything of water just like it's bad.
And not only that, man, you also have some chemicals that might be dumped into the water illegally by some crazy company or by somebody that God knows. I mean, who can guarantee you that like this crazy dude just didn't dump like a whole gallon of really poisonous chemicals inside the river because of God knows what, and then you're drinking from that stuff. So you gotta know the sources of water. And like I said, I've drank from that river. I took my chances, and I really did have to do that because I didn't have any other options. I've mentioned that experience before. The only other available options were the water vines, and there were not enough water vines to actually take care of our needs, or else we would have to work on a whole lot of water vines, tear the whole place down, and still work and sweat and use our precious water. So this is not something that you can easily go there and do. You know, I mean, actually, I'll let you know what are the main sources of water in my area, in order of in the way that it makes it easier for you to have access to those sources. Let's put it this way: the easiest way for you to get water here, and the different types of water sources we got here in Brazil. The most obvious and easy to find are the rivers, the streams, water that runs out of a spring, right? That's what you can, the ideal type of water for you to find, especially a river, which again obviously is not like a polluted river, you know, dumped with all kinds of crap. So if you find water from those places, well, those are, you know, good sources. Can you drink straight from any rivulet, any stream, any place like that? Depends. Do I drink straight from those sources? Yes, I do, but I take chances whenever I do that. I want people to know that. And I hardly ever do that unless I am really positive that, you know, the water is okay. And even by being positive, I'm still taking chances. So this is not something which you can, you know, just go for that water. It's 100% safe. It's like you said, Rich, you just mentioned, you never know if there's a fisherman upriver just taking a dump, you know, throwing crap in the river, and there you are drinking from that water. So do I do that? Yes, but even though I try to drink from reliable sources, there's always the risk and the chance of something you might not be able to see being, you know, infecting that water. But let's say the rivers and lakes are the most common sources for water here. Other than that, you have the rainwater, which is okay. You can drink straight from the rain if the water hasn't gone through any jungle canopy, any forest canopy. Because whatever debris, whatever, you know, particles, let's say dust, Mac likes to say that you have like monkeys copulating in the canopies, and all that stuff will come down when the rainwater washes it off. And if you just drink out of that water, you will be, you know, collecting all that stuff which was in the canopy. So again, you have to filter and you have to treat that water. If you were drinking straight from the rain, you were sure, you know, it didn't get to the canopies, no problems. Just make sure you don't drink from any water that is around big cities, because you've got the chance and the risk of acid rain, and that would be another problem. Other than the rain, you would have the vines, which are, you know, to a degree, a reliable source of water, as long as you know what species you have and what you're looking for, and the features and the aspects, you know, those little features that the certain vines have, which will most likely determine they are okay. Vines are a good, you know, a good way to go for. And I would say, you know, at last, you know, we have dew. You can collect dew. Mac has some good videos on dew collection, but again, with dew, you tend to get the dust and the debris which is on the surface where you're collecting the dew from. And again, you have to filter that water and treat that water. This is not something which you can drink straight out of. However, you can collect a good amount of water depending on what season of the year you are here. You can actually collect a good amount of water just using like the fabric of your t-shirt, a bandana, or any other piece of a fabric that retains water. You can suck in enough water, you know, to help you out if you don't have any other sources.
Now, people are talking in the room here. Up to 3 minutes of boiling. After 3 minutes of boiling, everything that's alive in the water is dead. So you don't need to boil for 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. It's not going to make it any deader. It's only going to help it evaporate faster.
That's right. That's a good point.
Once it's dead, it doesn't. Remember, boiling doesn't clean the water. So, okay, all you're doing is killing the live cryptosporidium and stuff in the water. Now,
That's right.
if you have chemicals, they will kill stuff in the water. They will help separate some things in the water. Unless you filter the water, you're not going to remove things from the water. Chemicals don't remove things. They kill things. Chemicals do
That's
that
right.
also.
That's
Filtering
right.
removes stuff from the water, and unless you use a very expensive, really good filter, you are not, and I want to say not, going to be taking chemicals out of the water, nor viruses or other things like that. Those filters are very expensive, and you know it's a deal. There are some things that you probably will remove with, you know, a 1 micron or a 0.01 micron, things like that, but it will not get everything. The best thing you can do is try and get your water from the best sources, most cleanest sources you can, and then work on making it better from there. So
right.
the dirtier the water you get, the worse off it's going to be trying to clean it up. So you're going to do the best you can for it.
That's right.
So
That's right.
there you go. Now, all right, you've got some videos, you've got some more pictures. What else you want to do?
Yeah, we still have. I think I sent you the other water vine video, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you play that, please?
Yes, sir. Here we go.
Thank you.
I'll mute myself.
All right, me too.
These are all water vines you got here. This is dry season in Brazil. I'm in the area where my family has a country house, staying here for the weekend. So you look at a dry place like this and you think, well, there's no water here anymore. Well, there is water under the ground, okay, and in the vines that grow from the place where the water used to run through. So the water is still here. You just got to be able to identify the new label, what you're looking for, and you find it. This water vine is coming straight from the place where the stream used to run through, and the dirt here is still pretty humid, so I believe it must be sucking the water that is down there. So I guess there will be more water in that water vine, and I'll check it right now. Excellent. Perfeito. Igual eu imaginei. Just like I imagined. Because the vine is sucking straight from the place where the stream runs. It's got a way more water than any other vine I've tried before here. See the sound it makes? This is pure water. First, I filter the water using my bandana to get rid of the bigger solid parts of the water, the debris, the bigger debris that is in the water. Repeat the process. Make sure I'm using the same side as I did before. Very good.
Okay. We're back in the room.
All right.
Any questions from anybody in the room so far? Put your questions in red so we can read them. Now, your water filter is only going to be as good as what you got available.
Yeah. Well, on this video, you might have noticed that I used an old bandana to filter the water, and then people might have, figured that a bandana or a piece of a fabric, like a t-shirt or something, might not be the best way for you to get rid of those rather small particles which can still store and shelter those microorganisms. Yes, but again, in that case, in that particular case, I didn't have any other option. So my best shot there would be the bandana. Of course, if I had like one of those filters, like the one that Mac had, it would help me out much better than just using a piece of fabric to separate those particles. But you got to work out with what you have. One thing that I didn't show on that video specifically is that I did have a live straw, which is some kind of a filter that combines, somewhat of a chemical treatment with a filtering system that helps you, drink from some water sources. But I have heard that it's not 100% reliable, and like you have pointed out before, Rich, you cannot get rid of chemicals or viruses in the water just using those filters, unless you go for something which is really, really expensive. And I don't think it's the case of most of people. So yes, you gotta be able to use good devices to help you filtering your water. But again, you still have to find a way to treat it chemically after you filter it.
Oh yeah. Just talking about different filters in a room and different things that are going on. Now me, I normally filter and boil. That's just myself. But one of the things they mentioned, which I think you did in the video, knowing and using the one side of the bandana and not flipping it back and forth is very important.
Oh yeah.
I believe Fixed by Doc mentioned in here, he said a lot of people don't think about that.
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing, because if you invert the sides, what you do is when you pour water on your bandana, you will be actually flushing the particles that were, clung to the bandana. You will be flushing those things outside the bandana, outside the previous place, into your water, and you don't really want that, so you must pay attention to that detail.
Now, they're talking in the room. I have to tell you guys, you can follow, this is not me, this is strictly the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, Center for Disease Control. They will tell you that no chemical, no filter and no chemical is 100% foolproof to remove everything from the water. The only thing that is 100% to kill everything in the water is to boil it. That doesn't mean that it's not still there. It doesn't mean that it'll pass through your system. You're still going to drink the dead stuff, but nothing else is as well as boiling. So when in doubt, boil it. The other stuff will remove it. The other stuff will kill probably 99.99% of it, whatever else. But as the Center for Disease and Control says, boiling is the only fail-safe you have.
And I think besides being the only really safe way to kill those things, I believe I might be wrong here though. If people out there know it for sure, they can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think by allowing the dead microorganisms to be in the water when you drink it, you might give the chance to your body actually get used to those things as like a vaccine would do. I'm just guessing out here, because isn't it what a vaccine does? They inject dead viruses, let's put it this way, in your body, so your body can learn how to deal with those things without having the harm of that contact. And I think that by allowing those dead bodies, those dead bugs to be in your water, you might.
So you're like building up a tolerance to it.
Yeah, you might. I think so.
It might. I am not a scientist. I do not know.
Me neither.
But
guess.
As Doc has pointed out, well, Mr. Wilderness says an immunity to it. Tolerance is not the immunity. That's the word we're looking for. Thank you, Mr. Wilderness. And Fixed by Doc says, in some cases, though, the dead bodies, and this is true, in some cases, the dead bodies of the cryptosporidium and other stuff will probably have allergic reactions to some people. You know, not everything is going to work for everybody. There are going to be cases.
Good point. Good point.
Like
Excellent.
my wife, everybody says, drink pine tea. It's good for you. Drink pine tea. If she drinks pine tea, she's dead.
Oh my God.
Because she's allergic to pine.
Yeah,
so,
you got
so
to know
her
it.
throat will swell through. So not everything will work for everybody. All we can do is try the best that we can. I say if you really want to kill everything in your gut, just drink hot sauce.
Drinking what?
Just drink the hot sauce.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding. You know,
Right.
that'll flush your system. No.
Let me tell you guys something here. Just think about boiling and the boiling time. I've heard, you know, I got students in my courses, and when I ask them, how long do you think we should allow the water to be boiled in order to make it suitable for drinking? And they say like 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Oh my gosh. But actually, just think about it. How long does it, let me ask you a question. How long does it take an egg to harden up when you boil it? 6 minutes? Is that 6 minutes? I'm asking
Something
you.
like that.
So, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Let's say 6 minutes. I don't think an egg takes any longer than, of course, depends on certain conditions, but let's say 6 minutes should be the average time for an egg to boil. And we're talking about a big living thing. I mean, not living thing, but it used to be a living thing, a big cell, a big organism. Let's put it this way, a big organism. Now, if it takes only 6 minutes for a big organism like an egg to harden up because the temperature is so hot, so high, anything smaller would be dead by that time, by the time an egg is boiled, is hardened up. So even 6 minutes would be a way too long to actually get rid of the necessary of the tiny little things. Let's say that 1 minute to 2-3 minutes would be the average time. I would, in my area here, I wouldn't boil it for any longer than 1 minute. I think 1 minute should be enough to get rid of those things. However, I mean, you could go for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but any longer than that, I think would be just a waste of water as you're steaming it out.
Yeah, evaporating out, or waste of wood, or whatever else you're doing there.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. So now, the other thing is, I prefer, if I have to boil water, I take hot chocolate or coffee with me, because I'm not going to wait for it to cool down.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem we have here in Brazil, because you do have the option to boil your water. However, you'll be waiting quite a good deal of time and quite a good amount of time for your water to cool down to make it, you know, good for you to drink. The day I had to boil that river water, it took me forever to cool off the water and then drink it. And by the time you drank it, you were thirsty already, and you had to go through the process all over again and wait for a long time for and it's just. It's a pain. You don't really want to do that unless you really have to. It's different if you are in a cold environment where you just have to shove your canteen, whatever containers you're using, in the snow, and a couple of minutes after that, a few minutes later, it's cold. I mean, it's not the case here where I am. It takes a long time for the thing to get to be okay for you to drink.
Now, my buddy Miker here in the room, he carries a very large pot in the bottom of his bag, and then puts the other items in the pot.
All right.
He carries them through. That way he can boil a large amount of water one time and go back and refill from that. And then, or keep that on there so that it's warm, so it's clean, so it's good, and then add to and remove from it as you need to go. So he's a very smart individual to go that route. Of course, not all of us have the luxury to carry a large pot with us, but the idea is the more water you boil, the less times you have to boil.
Oh yeah, and, that's right. It's a good approach. It's a good approach if you can actually, if you got the room to store that container there. But in most of cases, people are lucky to have the canteen cups. And if you only have the canteen cups, it's going to take you quite a long time, which was actually what we had when I boiled that water. I think we probably had 3 or 4 of those canteen cups, and it just took us forever to get some water.
All right, Giuliano, we are running out of time, my friend. We have your pictures we'll save for next time and go that route. So you've done a wonderful job like always. We're going to get out of here and then go get fixed by Doc and bring him in just a few minutes.
Good, hey, Fix.
Yeah, so great job, my friend. Wonderful. I hope everybody enjoyed it in the room.
Hopefully.
We will see you next week for sure, my friend.
Oh, yeah, man. That's right.
All right. We'll catch up with you later. Say goodnight.
Okay, good night, people. Take it easy.